So first one. So Madeira, what your thoughts on City this weekend?
Yeah. What are they?
And then.
What did you think?
And, is it on?
Yeah.
Oh, the camera's been on the whole time. I didn't even realise.
What do you think of City on the weekend?
Oh, I'm still having PTSD from last weekend, to be honest, after what they did to my club. But no, City were, well, yeah, incredible. I mean, Southampton obviously have looked very rocky. I think they're now winless in their last 6 now, but that kind of quality is just, you can't make that up. I mean, I know it's what everyone says, but literally when you're Pep Guardiola, you have a look at your bench. Oh, let me just bring on the likes of Riyad Mahrez, or Bernardo Silva. Let's give him a rest or whatnot. It's wow, it's amazing.
Haaland obviously got his 15th goal, and if he's on 15 already, how many do you reckon he'll get?
Did you see that stat about Ronaldo and Haaland?
Yeah, it's crazy stat.
Something like he needs to get 49 goals a season until he's 38 to catch Ronaldo.
That's mad. That's crazy.
He's on 15. He's on 20 already this season.
20 for the season, 15 in the Prem. I reckon he's got in him 35 goals, Premier League goals that is, 35. Salah last year, Son, they were joint on 23, was it? Yeah, 23. So I think he'll go plus 30. I think the record's 32 set by Salah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you can break it straight away.
I think it's like almost disrespectful to the Premier League that he's just come in and just wiped all these past records and passed it aside. Is crazy.
Erling Haaland, like you said, he's on 15 goals this season already. I mean, you go in, when you're the opposition team, you go into games thinking you're already at least 1-0 down because Haaland's going to score. It's a matter of when as opposed to if. And yeah, you know what? I said this before, obviously Arsenal, because they're looking amazingly, but I think the big difference and what scares me as a Manchester United fan and everyone else is Arsenal, yes, they're playing very well and have only lost 1 game, but it feels like they're playing towards their peak or like the best of their abilities. Like you said, your Martinellis, who'd have thought they'd be playing this well. Saka seems to be an absolute different man. But when you watch the City games, I don't know about you, James, but when I watch the City games, I'm thinking Haaland's had about 17 touches and he's now scored twice.
It's like we're in second
Exactly.
gear.
Exactly. I was like, the only time I've seen City really blow a team out the water and really play to that pinnacle was against Manchester United, where I think obviously because you had very United biased commentary after the game and how Man United didn't show up. I don't think it was that. I just think City were too good, especially when you look at the touches or whatnot. So I compare it to the game against Arsenal. We actually had more possession and more passes completed against Manchester City, but we were 4-0 down. And in a space of 10 minutes, we went from 1-0. Obviously, you guys were dominating, but we went from 1-0 relatively, maybe we could get back in the game, to something like that. 4-0, Haaland's touched the ball 7 times, 2 of them ended on our net, and the game is completely over. But wow, some teams.
He's got Kevin De Bruyne assisting him.
I mean, Kevin's unbelievable.
Which is just like
the link-up play between the two of them. It's like they have some sort of psychic.
I need to go watch City, man, just because I want to watch them.
Yeah.
I really want to just watch them play.
It's crazy.
As a United fan watching that, were you worried after the game, thinking, oh no, we're going to be back on the decline and we're going to go back to our old ways? You know, what were you thinking after the game?
I think that's a very fair question.
I think you were great at the weekend either.
No, that's why I agree.
It's true.
I thought the last 10 minutes, especially after Rashford's goal got disallowed, there was a real turning point where the Everton fans got behind the home club, and you were looking on the road. Pickford was going to go for a bullet head in the last minute, wasn't he?
Yeah, but then
Varane got his head in the way.
But then this is the thing. I think what people do underestimate in that kind of game. In the past, Everton and Goodison has been a tough place for us to go, but Everton's one of the oldest grounds in the league and one of the best fan bases in the league. So it doesn't matter really what the result is. When you're under the cosh at Goodison, it can be a very tough place.
Job done there, kind of thing.
On top of that, similar to Villa as well, I know Villa didn't get the win yesterday, but similar to Villa, Everton have been on a small upturn of form as well. I think they're unbeaten in the last 3, I want to say. It can be a tough place to go.
Arsenal's. I was surprised at Arsenal. I thought coming up against Liverpool, I thought they could struggle, especially against the bigger clubs. But I mean, they've now played 3 of the so-called top 6. 1-2, lost 1, so it's not bad going. Considering you think about Arsenal in past years, they used to always stumble against the top 6. They could beat everyone else, but whenever it came to those big games, Arsenal were always bottling it. And it was also the first time, I think, in a long time where you go into the Arsenal-Liverpool game and Arsenal were actually the favourites, which it was surprising. Do you see that meme where it was like Pep Guardiola's got so bored of the Premier League that he's made his apprentice to now challenge him?
He sold him his players.
Yeah, and sold him his players because he's so bored.
I mean,
that's what it's like for Pepe.
Bruno Guimaraes might be one of the best players out of the top 6 in this league.
100%, yeah. Remember when they were doing that whole North v South team debate? I think I was watching something, and a lot of the time Bruno was getting in as the extra midfielder. When people were just unsure, Bruno was getting a big shout in there. So I think he's backed by everyone up and down the league. They all know how good of a player he is.
No, he's very, very talented. Very talented. Gives me well, you can't even say it now because he's probably better than him now. But obviously, it's like, you remember when Wolves first signed Ruben Neves?
Yeah, that kind of vibe. Yeah,
he does give me those kind of vibes. It's like
he should have moved on from Wolves though. He could have easily played in a top 4 team, I think.
See, a few of the people up here I've spoken to fancy them for European football.
Yeah, is that what the locals have been saying? have you had a chat with the locals? Yeah.
A couple of the guys I work with, the Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
They fancy them for Europe this year.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Very doable. Very doable.
I back them completely. I think I put in a reel that we posted the other day actually that Newcastle would be the underdogs. Eddie Howe would win manager of the season because I believe he's going to get them in European football this year.
That Isak, I know he didn't play or whatever, but he looks sharp.
Sharp.
He looks like a proper good signing, like exactly what they've needed. Because obviously Wilson's never fitted.
No.
Good when he is.
He's so good when he's fit, but he's just never fit.
Yeah, and that's an issue for a club like that when you want to, because they need to score goals.
Yeah.
Also, you think of how scary this front three could be. You could have an Isak, ASM, and Wilson front three.
So good.
Because Isak can also be deployed on the wing.
I think that's their final.
Yeah.
That's their
final form, mate.
Well, no, I think that's the next signing. I think. Almiron's been class.
He has been good. He has been good. You can't rule him out. I love him as well. He always looks so happy. Like whenever you see him, I loved it when he bagged his goal, ran into the crowd, got the his Paraguay flag. Loving it. Yeah.
Since he took them Jack Grealish comments personally.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I genuinely think for potentially 7th. I'm still keeping it Brighton. I'm keeping it Brighton, mate.
Wow.
I think what a lot of people won't know about him, but Roberto De Zerbi is a unbelievable manager. An unbelievable manager. He is, as I was saying before, he is part of the reason. Him and a lad called Eusebio Di Francesco are part of the reason that people even know who Sassuolo are as a team. He is on a budget as well, so he doesn't need that much money. He will make seemingly average players look unbelievable. And to be fair, I mean, what a baptism of fire, by the way. Yeah. Liverpool and Tottenham as your first 2 games to come out with a point, and are unlucky not to come out with all 6 in both games, depending on how you look at it, because they lost to Spurs on the weekend, but they were the better team by far.
They were, weren't they?
By far. We're looking at, well, I'd say dominating the game, possession stats very high, obviously. But then when you have the player quality and the player difference, I mean, you can't really compare Harry Kane to Danny Welbeck, can you? And then that's where you're going to get your points. And it was a good goal from Kane. Obviously, Son gets another assist, that link up. But I think they're my team to watch. And I think even as the season goes by and the week goes by and they get more use to the system, because that's another thing as well, Roberto's English isn't amazing, so he'll have his translators there with him, but that just provides another outlet. As the people get more used to him, I think Brighton will be a very hard team to beat. I think on top of that, let's not forget I think he'll get more opportunities under Roberto as well, but you still have the likes of Tarek Lamptey on the bench, who he's been a weird one for me, because I think his ceiling is incredibly high. I mean, especially people won't remember this, but his debut, remember Chelsea versus Arsenal 2 or 3 years back? That's one of the best debuts I've seen. Personally, I thought he was electric that day, and I said that's what got him his move to Brighton. And then before the injury happened last year, he was playing every game. He was an absolute fancy points man last year as well. And I just think he's had a little bit of a tough straw of it, but now he's getting his fitness back. I think he'll be a bit of a mainstay, depending on how, again, because Roberto, he's a bit of a tinker man as well, sometimes like to change it. Depends how he wants to deploy the likes of your Solly Marches, or if he wants to push Veltman a bit more into that wing-back role. But I think he might be integral to that team.
What's a good season for Wolves now?
I would say, staying up, yeah.
Survival. There has to be. In the situation that they're in, it has to be survival. Yeah.
Oh, actually, this could be a weird shout as well. I know it's slightly going back to it, but what about bringing back Nuno? If you're Wolves.
Yeah.
Because he's out of a job and he did wonders at the club.
Yeah. Where is he now? Is he doing anything?
No job.
Probably sat on a beach with a cigar.
Exactly, because obviously Tottenham had to pay out a lot of money to get him out of the contract. At least if I was a Wolves, if I was the Wolves chairman, I'd be thinking, why not bring him back? He knows all the players. You've only made 3 signings in the summer. So most of the core that he had, bar obviously your Connor Cody, who's gone back to Everton, most of it's still there, and obviously Willy Bolly left. But the rest of it is more or less what Nuno had in the past. But this is what I mean. This is why it's so surprising. In fact, this season there's been a lot of teams like that where if you look at Wolves on paper, these are talented players. So like you said, you got Mateus Nunes, you got Gonzalo Guedes, who is an absolute player, and 3 years ago was wanted by Manchester United. We've already seen the likes of what Daniel Podence and Pedro Neto can do in the league when they're unleashed. Like, these on paper are talented footballers who I think potentially could be at other clubs, but for some reason are sitting. And we already mentioned Ruben Neves, Joao Moutinho. These are players. I mean, Ruben Neves is captain Champions League teams in Porto. Joao Moutinho's been to quarterfinals of Champions League, and they're sitting near the summit, or sorry, near the bottom of the Premier League. That's incredible to me, to be honest. Incredible.
It's tough for Leicester at the minute. I think soon Rodgers is gonna have to walk. That's my opinion. I think he's getting to a point where they need a refresh. Obviously, that I don't understand why the owners wouldn't back him. He's brought success to the club. He's a proven successful manager in the past, but it's getting to a point now where they're at a stalemate. Rodgers isn't getting the backing, and it's just a big decline. It's not good.
He definitely should have been backed more. Yeah. But do you not think with the squad that he's got, regardless, he should be doing better? He should be doing better than he is. He's still got your Madisons, Tielemans.
I mean, how many times has Maddison tried to bail him out this season?
Yeah.
He's been sensational. He's been so good. But it's one of those things where I think I've heard Pep Guardiola mention it in the interview. I know this is a different context because he was talking about in order to win the league, but it's the same thing in the sense that in order to improve and better, the squad needs to be constantly refreshed with new players and changing up. Otherwise, the working and playing environment that they're in, I think it gets a bit stale, and I think that's what's happened at Leicester. I bet Maupay's wishing he never made that move. Back to Everton. Yeah, speaking of Everton, Frank Lampard is a bit of a roller coaster down at Goodison for him, isn't it? Massively.
I think obviously a very torrential start, which is pretty unfortunate. But as I said, he started turning around a little bit, and I think in the most part he'll be relatively okay with the performance on Sunday night. I think maybe again on another day, if De Gea doesn't make that save or Varane doesn't make that game-saving header, you get a point against Manchester United, which is relatively impressive. But what I would say is I think he might be a little bit concerned chance creation. I think he's, to an extent, he is sorting out the back line. He started the same back four now in the last 3 games with your Tarkowski and Connor Cody, which is Premier League proven centre halves. So and obviously you got Pickford in net, keep the ball out net. But I think they just don't look that threatening going forward. As I mentioned to you before, De Gea only had to make technically only 2 saves that game. One of them was the long shot from Iwobi that went in, and the other one is the cross shot at the end, which is a great save. Other than that, Man United weren't really tested on that front. And I think, I'm not sure if it means maybe going into January and trying to buy a couple more players, but I just don't think that front three of Gordon, Maupay and Demarai Gray's really, Chelsea might not even be enough to stay up.
Dwight Neal coming off the bench, it's a bit toothless, isn't it?
And I think obviously they're down there, but you compare that front three to Leicester, to West Ham. I mean, I don't think you could pair that front three to a Bowen, Scamacca, and Cornet or Antonio, depending on who's there, or Patson, Daka, or Vardy. I think they might get found out. Where do they sit?
Talk about Forest. Because the amount of money they've spent, they can't be in the position they're in now.
It's worrying. It's so worrying.
It was when I last checked, 147.5 million, and they sit rock bottom. Oh, actually,
one from bottom.
Yeah, one from bottom. They drew yesterday.
I think the next game is pivotal in the sense that they have Wolves. I think they're away, so it's at Molineux. I really feel like if they get the 3 points there, it'll kind of revitalise the whole squad and give them kind of a sense of belief that's needed. And also at the same time, psychologically, it's then sink their opponents in Wolves. So, especially, I think the next game is vital.
But having said that, yesterday, Steve Cooper will have a lot of positives to take from yesterday, and the new contract as well for the guy. So he'll be there for the long haul. And I think that is how do you guys think about that? That's a new kind of take. You know, usually with teams at the bottom, the last thing you do is show reassurance and belief. I haven't seen that in actually a long time, you know.
I think the thing with them that is concerning is when you're not getting 3 points against your Bournemouths, when you've spent that kind of money, they're the games which you've spent that money for.
Yeah, you need to be picking it up, just getting through the
So if you're spending money like that and you can't pick up the points against the teams that are going to be around you, that's got to be concerning.
I think it's with that being said, it's very important to realise though, the reason they brought in 22 players is because they lost 17. They had a lot of people on loan last year, so they had to just rehaul the squad.
I mean, have you seen the next fixture? Huge game. It's a relegation scrap. Forest away at Wolves.
Oh wow!
So Wolves on 6 points, Forest on 5. That could be a real turning point for either club.
Also, on top of that, it is tough for Steve Cooper, but I think he does need to either settle on his starting front three as well. Similar to how we talked about Everton, where it seems like Lampard knows what his front three is, but it's not good enough. I think Steve Cooper doesn't know. There's a lot of tinkering between whether the Nigerian lads, whether it's a Manny Dennis or Taiwo Awoniyi. On top of that, I mean, you think Brennan is going to start most games, but is he utilised best in that sort of right forward role? I don't know. And then you have to be honest, I think the key is Morgan Gibbs-White. You have to get that lad on the ball because he is sauce. I think he is so talented. Obviously got another assist from Manny Dennis, but the lad is such a talented footballer, and I think Wolves letting him go, obviously the money was a lot, so they had to, but that might also be another diamond in the rough from him.
I mean, Bournemouth have been doing well. Surprised how well they've been doing.
Since the new guys come in,
Yeah.
it's been so much better, which is surprising because I thought the sacking was...
I thought it was harsh. I thought it was really harsh. I wonder how big of a say Scott Parker actually had in it. Maybe he just thought the project wasn't right for him. I don't know. We don't know. But yeah, ever since Parker's left, they've seemed like they've been on the up. I think it was two wins, 3 draws from the last 5, which for a Bournemouth side is a fantastic run of games. It really is.
They've beaten some important opposition in there. They've beaten Leicester and Nottingham Forest in that run, which are your 6-pointers. They're your big 6-pointers. And to be fair, we mentioned how it was harsh with Scott Parker, but somehow, somewhere, and it might just be the honeymoon period, but he has to an extent stabilised the back line, and they're conceding way less goals. Admitted, they're creating roughly the same amount of chances they were under Scott Parker, so they actually have the lowest XG of any team in the league. But it doesn't matter when you're getting points, and it was good to see Dominic Solanke getting a couple of assists last weekend as well, because I think he is going to be pivotal. It was a shame he missed a couple of games under Scott Parker's reign as well, and that could be seen as a little bit of a sour point or poor point and an excuse for one of the reasons the results were bad. But I mean, when you've got him, the big man Kiefer Moore up there, set pieces are going to be your bread and butter, and that's where you can get your goals. You can hurt any team with that kind of size. I think it's onwards and upwards for them. I think possible in full effect, is it?
I know it was basically his second choice team, wasn't it? All resting big players, the likes of Sterling, Reece James, all left out. Didn't even need them.
We had a great week last week. What do you think when you watch Chelsea at the minute?
Solid, very solid. I think the main ones are obviously after last week with the Palace result. I was thinking, am I too sure? And then obviously the Salzburg result under Potterball. But wow, I mean, beating Serie A champions like that, 3-0 in midweek, and yeah, it wasn't close at all. And
pushed them aside,
Yeah.
just like they were nothing.
and I love to hate Chelsea, I do, but they looked really, really solid midweek. And against Wolves, similar kind of thing. But against Boys, it felt like really did. And obviously, it was nice to see. I'm a big fan of Broja. Is that how you say it, Broja?
Yeah.
I was a big fan of him, so I was happy to see him get on the score sheet. And actually, I thought he was a little bit hard done by with the Aubameyang signing, because I was thinking potentially he could have been the first backup or even an option to go into the season with. 'Cause I thought he was very good at Southampton last year.
Well, we've got the best right back in the world, don't we?
Does Trent play for Chelsea? Didn't realise, mate.
I thought Kyle Walker's injured.
Yeah, what? Does Dallo get a shout?
We've got to talk about Trent.
Oh yeah. See, you know what? See, my problem with Trent is I think he gets a very, very bad rep. Now, admitted,
Yeah.
sometimes he can look a bit lackadaisical when defending, but I think a lot of the time it's just a constant narrative and it's just easy to go with. For example, the goals against Brighton, to an extent it is his fault, the first one, but Alisson probably does have to do a little bit better.
That's what I was saying. There's a lot of criticism on social media, and you think you don't want to jump on the bandwagon because we've seen over the last 3-4 years how good he's been. 2 Champions League finals at such a young age, and he's been undoubtedly the best right back in the world for a amount of years for this. But at this moment in time, look, he's going through one of those rough patches. You want him fit, you want him in that England squad, no question. The experience he's had, especially over the last years, like I say, 100%, he's got to be in and around that England squad. There's no way he can be left off the plane, whatever. But I do think he was poor on the weekend, and what the goal was he was to blame.
You can't help Trent seeing Reece James ripping it every week. He is.
Do you reckon that's it? Reece James is just level above now, and that's clear.
You tell me.
It's starting to look that way. It is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say just yet.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say just yet, but he's starting just to creep slightly ahead, and that's why I think Southgate will favour him. So I think Southgate will favour Reece James over Trent Alexander-Arnold, especially now that Kyle Walker's picked up this injury. Reece James is looking clear for that England fullback spot. Did he used to play higher up when he was younger? And then,
I think he played up front.
like, no one wants to be a Gary Neville. That's that sort of thing. I know the feeling. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Right, who's outroing?
Go on, Tolly, deliver the goods. What do you say for our outro?
I was going to look ahead to next week's games. Well, not that, but like, you know that thing. It's just like,
How does it work?
I was going to say something corny, just like.
Just get off the camera.
We've been spectating.
Just get off.
No, let's go.
Just get off.
We've been spectating.